What's going on, YouTube? Welcome to another episode of Beneath the Gi. On this episode, we're going to be focusing on how to translate techniques from single stick to knife to empty hand and all the way around. Okay, so as you guys know, Filipino martial arts is a system, which means that if I train angle 1 and angle 2 in stick, it should technically be the same when I train it in the knife. And if I really wanted to empty hand, I can go hammer fist, which is true, but sometimes there's certain characteristics that will not allow you to do it the exact same way. Okay, the first thing you need to understand is understanding your offensive flow. What I mean by that is your X patterns, your Sinawali here. You want to make sure that that can be applied to whatever weapon that you're introducing yourself to, whether that's a knife, whether that's empty hand, as best as you can. While you do that, you want to emphasize the weapon characteristics. Okay, so what I mean by that, with the stick, it's primarily medium to long range. Yes, there are close range techniques, but this thrives on the slashes, right? Because this comes from the sword technique. So as I do this, I don't want to stick to puño and snap and being very condensed if I don't need to. I want to be nice and free and let my angles do the work that it will. When I switch to the knife, I will continue to do the same flow that I did, but now I'm going to emphasize a little bit of the stabbing because this is an edged weapon, which means it's meant to lacerate and puncture. If I take away that, then I'm taking away the characteristics of this weapon, and you can't ignore that. You have to remember a knife is a knife, a stick is a stick, a sword is a sword. Sometimes there's a general line, but you have to be able to adapt as you get into the separate weapons, right? If I go into empty hands, same concept. Now I can shadow box. I can go real Western boxing. If I wanted to be more Filipino martial arts oriented, I can throw in a Sinawali with my hands, elbows, and flow. Okay. Now because I have two empty hands, I might use my left a lot more frequent than I would just using my right. And that goes the same way if I did double stick to empty hand or double knife to empty hand. There's a silver lining, like I said, but there are some key differences. Alright, so let's start from the very top. We're going to take one simple technique and we're going to see how it's translated from weapon to weapon. This technique is called the gunting. The gunting is a scissor motion and it can be displayed in various ways. If we're going stick against stick, because of the medium to long range attribute, I can't necessarily get inside here and pass this and cut this at the same time. Okay, this is technically what the gunting does. But I can't ignore the attribute, like I said. So when the angle 1 comes, I'm going to go off to the side and cut with my weapon without even using my left hand. Okay, so I need to play with the characteristics as much as I can while still implementing the technique that I know. As we move into the knife, now I can be a little closer and I can parry because this is a close range weapon. So as the angle 1 comes, I'm going to pass and cut at the same time. Now when we go into empty hand, I don't have a hand that can cut. Okay, so I'm either going to rake the bicep with my fingers, or I'm just going to hammer fist it. And what I'm trying to do is either hit the brachial nerve or the ulnar nerve because I can't lacerate anything. So as the cross comes, I'm going to come underneath here, this parries, this comes underneath here, and I rake. So as you can see, between all three weapons, using the gunting, there are similarities, and you can tell that it's the same technique, but there are some differences that involve the weapon of choice. Now, we're going to take it to the next step and we're going to do a block check counter flow. And we're going to try to keep the technique as close knit as possible. So when we start with stick right now, I'm going to give an angle 2 here. I'm going to try to flow it. I'm going to hook. I'm going to go into here and lock the arm inside here. Okay, so when we move on to the knife, we're going to do the same technique, try to keep it as close as possible, but we're going to use a knife because it's a knife. So as the angle 2 comes and I deliver it here, I'm going to cut and then I'm going to bring it down. Now I'm going to cut across the neck and I'm going to hook around here with the knife, go into the lock, and secure the arm. And finally, when we approach this in the empty hand method, what I'm looking to do is keep this short and sweet, get into the grappling positions, and put them into a submissive position. So the punch comes here, I parry, I elbow instead of cutting, I knee, and then I secure the arm with 2 arms this time because I don't need to hold anything. So we've seen the technique done further than just the gunting. One technique, 3 different weapons. we went into an actual flow and we did it with the stick, the knife, and empty hand. But the most important thing that you need to understand is even though it is hypothetically possible, that doesn't mean you should do it. What you need to understand is the most important thing is using the weapon as the weapon should be used. Okay? The weapon may carry attributes that can be carried across the board, but a stick thrives in medium to long range. A knife thrives in close range, and empty hand thrives on the ability to grapple freely without letting go of any of your sticks. You can grapple with a stick, you can grapple with a knife, okay, but you can't cut with a hand, but you can definitely cause some battering with some elbows and some back fists and hammer fists. So let's take a couple steps back now. We did the most basic flow possible, trying to keep all the techniques similar to each other, using the single stick, using the knife, and using the empty hand. Now let's see, when we're placed in a position single stick against single stick, knife against knife, empty hand versus empty hand, what is the more appropriate way to approach it? Where do these weapons thrive the best? Okay, so we're in the same position here. I want to work off of the angle 2. This time I'm going to do a sombrada. I'm going to open it and I'm just going to hit. I don't need to get any closer. I don't need to hit him with a puño. I don't need to throw him. There are all possibilities, but as long as I hit him and he's down, what more do I need to do? Okay, now moving on to knife, I'm going to again emphasize that this is a bladed weapon. Working off of that angle 1, I'm going to come inside and cut, pass this down, pass this up, cut, stab, and done. Okay, so when it comes to empty hand, I have two options. I can stay just simply striking in and out, or I can be a little bit more grappling. If I want to stay just striking, I'm going to hit the gunting again. I come over here, I come up top, elbow, follow to another elbow, and done. If I want to grapple a little more, I'm going to hit the gunting one more time. This time his hand comes up. I'm going to shoot through here, grapple, take him down, and then finish him off here. So we have the 3 weapons done in similar techniques. We took the 3 weapons and we showed where they thrive the most. The last question you might be left with is, how do I take my knowledge from one weapon and I transfer it to another weapon? And there's 2 answers to this. The first answer is becoming knowledgeable in your weapon. Understanding what the weapon does, what is it best at, what is it most naturally used for. The second one is just actually training and taking the technique and seeing where the similarities lie and where the differences are needed to be addressed. Once you understand that, as you train and train and train, your body will naturally adjust to each weapon, each range, so that you don't have to think twice whether it's technique A, technique B, or technique C. You just have one solid technique and it's just consistently flowing, and that's what Filipino martial arts is all about. Hope you guys enjoyed this video of Beneath the Gi. If you haven't already, make sure you give this video a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to our channel, and until next time, we'll catch you guys then.